found this amazing article, and it's called What We All Should Know, Parenting Tips from Rabbi Kessel. It was in this week's magazine. Rabbi Kessel shares his take on some of the basic principles every parent should know. So you can look up on YouTube, online, and on the magazine. He was a struggling soul. He speaks about his childhood trauma that he went through, and he came back, and now he has a big kiruv yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and he's doing unbelievable things. But here's what I want to bring out. I never met him. He's across the world, in Israel, different population. The most crucial point is that a boy has to know his parents love him unconditionally. He is their son in every situation, no matter what, just as we are the children of Hashem, no matter what. Our love for our children is independent of any behavior on their part. It's not always easy, because sometimes our ego gets in the way of our love. The less ego we have, the more our children will listen. Take, for example, a boy who comes home late at night. You're angry at him because you're worried about him. If you talk to him through your ego and you say, I'm angry at you because you made me worry, then you'll never reach him and you'll never teach him to come home on time. But it's different if the boy knows you were worried about him. Kiss him and say, I'm so happy to see you. I was so worried about you. If you do this, then he'll make sure never to be late again. Every child, no matter how difficult, wants to be good. This is a yesod. Once we start to fight, we lose him completely. Our job as parents is to view a child who's starting to have trouble as someone who is sick. We have to feel bad for him. Don't criticize him. Just show him a lot of love. I once met with a boy who went down to the very bottom, but then came all the way back up to live a life of Torah and mitzvahs. I asked him what brought him back. He said that when he came home each night, his mother was up waiting for him to make sure he ate something. She told him he couldn't go to sleep with his stomach full of alcohol. It was too unhealthy. Love is the strongest rope. It will hold on to a boy and prevent his deterioration. We have to believe in them, even though we don't believe in them. It's hard, but that's what we need to do. We also have to realize that when a boy does something inappropriate, he's not doing it to oppose his parent. If your son would come home dressed like a tiger, you wouldn't be scared because you'd know it's a costume. So if your son comes home with a funny shirt or pants, don't be scared. It's just a costume. Continue relating to him as the good boy he really is, and he'll understand that you believe in him and love him, even if he's dressed up right now. You say this. So here's what's amazing. I've never met anybody dealing with off-the-derech kids for more than 10 years that disagrees with what this man says. We're all saying the same thing. You have 99.9% of Klal Yisrael on one side, and then you have the people, mamash a few yechidim on the other side. So you say, well, we have to go basar raiv. No, because the Ruba of Klal Yisrael didn't spend 10 years plus dealing with the kid. If you go to a cardiologist and he disagrees with all your guys in shul, you don't go basar raiv. They're not professionals. All the experts and professionals are telling us one thing. And I always say it, I said it before, I'll say it again. There is no problem of OTD. There's no problem of kids going off the derech. There's sick people who are in pain, struggling, abused, childhood trauma, all kinds of problems. That's the only thing that we're dealing with. And we have to learn this and remember this. It's very, very super important. That's what we have to learn. We have to remember this. I never met a kid who went off the derech. Somebody who's in pain and who's cutting themselves and who has all kinds of problems and is suffering, they're off the derech. You go to the hospital, there's 600 people in every room in the hospital. My man, he's off the derech. They're not behaving like Yidden. They're not putting on tefillin. They're sick. They're sick physically, and therefore you can't perform spiritually. We have to wake up and realize we don't have a spiritual problem. And we don't have a midos problem. These are our sweet kids. The problem is totally different. It's emotional pain, tzabruchenkite, brokenness that Hashem opened up, unleashed a disease on our dar that did not exist 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And who knows, maybe since mankind, I don't know. It didn't exist when we were kids, so we don't know what it is. You ever heard of kids who want to hurt themselves? Kids who want to die? And then we're going to tell them, oh, tznius. It's misunderstanding the Maisa. So here, that was what I wanted to bring out. I've never met anybody working with the kids who disagrees. So what does that mean? It means that we have to wake up and listen to all the experts. What's an expert? You could be an expert. Go out every Friday night and Sunday night, whenever you can, and spend hours and hours and hours with these kids. And in 10 years from now, you'll realize that you came to the same conclusion. That what looks to be Chil Shabbos, and I have a Shita, and I'm an atheist, and I'm against, you scratch through the surface, right? Oid ma'at, scratch more and more and more. Ve'ein Russia, you'll see there is no Russia over here. It's just not even, the Russia is not even part of the sugya. And the sad part is that people who don't know these kids, they just look at the actions on the outside. They look outside their window, and they see a kid smoking on Shabbos, right? They see a kid who's doing big averis. They say, oh, he's a Baltaiva, he's a Russia. No, I've never met the Baltaiva in the Russia. I want to meet the guy, I can't wait to meet him. We'll have such a nice time. I'll give him such a hug. Finally, I meet somebody doing an avera that's not broken and wants to die. You know how many emails I get, and texts, and WhatsApps from people who see my videos and they say, you're describing me. I'm suicidal, I want to die, I was abused. That's the story of our dar. If you delete all of that, we don't have an off the derech problem. We don't have kids going off the derech because Yiddishkeit is not fulfilling enough. Healthy people stay on the derech because Yiddishkeit is beautiful. And they get offended if you go to someone and say, oh, you're sick, they'll say, no, what are you talking about? Nothing happened. But how many kids did I bring in here to testify? We had one kid, remember, from whatever, famous guy, and I asked him, how many is your chevra? He said 30. How many of them went through sexual abuse as a child? Almost all of them, that I know of. That's what he said. Okay, I didn't want to ask him about him, but you'll ask all the 30 guys about the other guys, the other 29, they're going to say almost everybody. It's almost always sexual abuse. It's always pain. They're all tzabrachen. They're trying to numb their pain. We don't have a drug problem. We don't have a problem that began as a drug problem, a taiva problem, a spiritual problem, a chesaron in the cup, the head, the yediyah. There's no chesaron yediyah. There's no chesaron havana. There's no chesaron in midos. They look selfish, and they look all kinds of things that they look. It's almost like Hashem is saying, I'm going to give you 10,000 kids that look bad. Could you still get past the exterior, right? Al tastakel b'kankan. Could you rectify the sin of sinas chinam and do a little bit of deep v'hispainanta el makoymai, and you'll see there's no Russia over there. You'll see just a wonderful kid who wants to do something really, really amazing with their life, and they can't. When you don't give up on them like you're doing here, and they get better, they're going to be wonderful. For sure. No question about it. Be'ezus Hashem.